If you don't draw those lines, and the civilized world is not prepared to enforce those lines, you are giving complete license to people to do whatever they want and to feel that they can do so with impunity. If you want to send Iran and Hezbollah and Assad a congratulatory message, you guys can do what you want, you'd say, don't do anything. We believe that's dangerous, and we will face this down the road in some more significant way if we're not prepared to take some kind of a stand now. So that's our argument. It's not that I know better or someone knows better. It's an argument that we believe is based on fact, on evidence, on history, and we ask people to take a close look at it and make their own judgments.
One more question from the American media.
Yes, a question for Mr. Hague, the Foreign Secretary. Sir, now that the British Parliament has decided against British participation in a potential military strike in Syria, is there any way in which your government might do more in Syria by, say, arming the opposition or upgrading non-lethal material assistance to the rebels, or in deference to public opinion at home and your Parliament's decision, is your government essentially relegated to standing on the sidelines and providing moral support? And, sir, would you support military action by the Obama administration, even if the American Congress does not vote for that action? And then a question for Secretary Kerry. Sir, would the Obama administration consider releasing still more intelligence or perhaps some of the physical evidence of sarin use which you have not yet provided to counter Mr. Assad's assertions? And is there any concrete intelligence that links Mr. Assad directly to the attack? Do you have such information or not? And do you think it matters if you don't have such information? Thank you.
On the first part of that question, you can gather from some of my opening remarks that the UK is heavily engaged in many other ways in trying to address the problems thrown up by the crisis in Syria. The Prime Minister convened the meeting at the G20 of nations and organizations, looking at how we seriously ramp up the humanitarian assistance, make renewed diplomatic efforts on getting humanitarian access, which has been one of the great problems. This is a regime that actually tries to prevent humanitarian aid getting to its own people in some cases, removes medical supplies or obstructs medical supplies from getting to the right place. So the Prime Minister convened that meeting with the strong support of the United States. We've led the way in the latest round of increased donations to the humanitarian effort with that extra £52 million. So the UK is at the forefront with the United States and others of that piece of work, and it will become all the more important in the coming months. We're also doing a great deal to assist the stability of neighboring countries, particularly Lebanon and Jordan, and the direct assistance we give to the Lebanese armed forces and to Jordan, including equipment to help the Jordanian armed forces cope on their border. We're heavily engaged at the United Nations and in all forums in the continuous efforts over recent months to bring about a Geneva II peace process. And with the opposition, with the Syrian National Coalition, who I met last week and who we can regard as a democratic, non-sectarian opposition, we do give them a great deal of practical, non-lethal assistance. That has included the delivery in recent days of equipment to protect against chemical attack, escape hoods, injections, detector paper that will help people to survive chemical attacks. We're looking at doing more of that in the future. And so, as you can see, the United Kingdom is in very many ways trying to bring about, working with the United States and our other allies, trying to bring about a political solution in Syria and alleviate the suffering of the people there and prevent the spread of the crisis to other countries. So involved in all of those ways, while fully respecting the vote in our Parliament on our attitude to a decision in the United States. That is for the United States. We have our own constitution and parliamentary complications and rules. We will leave it to the United States to address their issues on that. These are the two great homes, two of the greatest homes of democracy in the world, and they each work in slightly different ways. But we each have to respect the way each other's democracy works, and we do. John?
And we do, that's for sure. I don't know, honestly, and obviously there's a risk in some of this, because you can conceivably, in certain circumstances, compromise your ability to be able to intercept a plot or track what terrorists are thinking about and planning. So you have to be very, very careful in those judgments, and that's exactly what the intelligence community, that's why it took a while to get to where we are. But, and this is very, very important, but the elected representatives of the American people, the members of Congress, have a right to go to the intelligence committees and to the intelligence community and be briefed. So it's not being hidden from people. And they can be the judges of that additional intelligence that they see or don't see, which is how a republic works. With respect to Assad directly, etc., the chemical weapons in Syria we have tracked for some period of time now are controlled in a very tight manner by the Assad regime. And it is Bashar al-Assad and Mahir Assad, his brother, and a general, who are the three people who have control over the movement and use of chemical weapons. But under any circumstances, the Assad regime is the Assad regime. And the regime issues orders, and we have high-level regime that have been caught giving these instructions and engaging in these preparations, with results going directly to President Assad, and we're aware of that. So we have no issue about the question here of responsibility. There is none. The Assad regime is the Assad regime. They control these weapons. They have a huge stock of these weapons, very threatening level stock that remains, and that's why this issue is of such consequence and so important. And there is no issue whatsoever in the mind of the intelligence community or the administration, or certainly in the minds of all those people like Senator Feinstein, who's the head of the Intelligence Committee, and Saxby Chambliss, the ranking member, and others who've come to a conclusion that the regime, in fact, engaged in this activity.
Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
There we are, the conclusion of a press conference held there between the Foreign Secretary, William Hague, and the US Secretary of State, John Kerry, after they've had discussions.